Divine, your background is in tech, or is it? Or
Yeah, financial tech. Now, well, I originally come from the urban music industry space.
right?
And then I got into technology in 2014 when I met Ben Horowitz. He became my mentor, and that's how I broke into tech. That was 2014. Started my first fintech 2015, and then went on to start Solvent last year.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So this is a wonderful initiative. That, and I'll let you explain it better. So why don't you give us a little bit while we're waiting about Solvent and tell us a little bit more about what you've been able to accomplish in this last year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Solvent is a financial technology startup. It's a mobile first, all-in-one banking and financial empowerment platform focused on the system impact and to optimize their financial lives. And when we think about the system impact, we break that up into 4 segments. One being the social economically disadvantaged, 2 being the formerly incarcerated, 3 being the family, friends, and loved ones of the formerly incarcerated and or incarcerated, and the 4th one being the incarcerated. So Solvent builds affordable or tech-driven or personal financial and banking tools, products, and services, including financial literacy and entrepreneurship education, all around financial empowerment. Over the last year, we've been able to make some great traction. We secured a lot of strategic and business partnerships from a BaaS platform partner, which is banking as a service, to Visa, MasterCard, as well as a bank that we're working with to be able to provide our bank account and debit card product. We also have been we were selected amongst thousands of applicants in the 1.5% percentile to be involved with the inaugural AWS Impact Accelerator for Black Founders, which was very huge. We were given $225,000 reward, and it was $125,000 cash grant and $100,000 of AWS credits. After completing that program, we got selected to join another accelerator, or rather a fellowship program through Village Capital, and that was Innovations in Justice Tech Fellowship Program. We received $20,000 cash grant, and we just been really focusing on really building this platform. We should have our bank account and debit card product launched in the next 90 days. So we're excited about that. We're talking to a few other accelerators right now. I can't speak too much about that, but we're hoping to get into one of those and get some more capital to really push this.
And how about community engagement? How's your community engagement side been on this?
Oh, it's been great. We actually just partnered with a company organization based in Las Vegas called Hope for Prisoners. So they have hundreds of individuals in their programs coming out of prison, individuals that are involved with the justice system, or rather confinement in some form, whether that's ankle monitor, whether that's home confinement. So we're actually partnering with them to really scale as far as our community.
Looking at the progress so far, what is your thought process as what is the most resources that you need aside from capital?
I'd say key executives, right? Key roles. We need to fill key roles within the company. We just brought on a new COO, so happy about that. Brought on a new CTO, happy about that. And really just getting the right individuals and building a team all around to really to push this to that next level.
Oh, that's amazing. I think we have Angel that has joined us. So welcome, Angel. Thank you for joining us. I think you know Divine.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me today. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, no, good to see you again. So while we're waiting for others to join, if you would be so kind as to give us your introduction and tell us a little bit more about, your initiatives and how the initiatives have been since January when we last spoke.
Sounds great. Well, to remind everyone, I am Angel Rich Jones, founder and CEO of Credit Rich, also known as the next Steve Jobs by Forbes magazine. I started my career as a global market research analyst with Prudential Financial, authoring the African American Financial Experience Study, the reason there are Black people in life insurance and financial services commercials. Also led the President Obama's Veterans Initiative Research Study, and decided to quit my job and start my company after that, creating the first financial literacy mobile game, and now recently creating the first Black woman-owned neobank. Our app, Credit Rich, rounds up users' spare change to pay their bills intelligently and optimize their credit score as fast as possible. And we are extremely proud to be in partnership with Visa.
That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about your engagement and what are your strategies for engaging with the next generation, as folks are coming up. We've got a large number of young kids. How are you interacting with the kids?
Yes, well, youth is one of our primary focuses. Another study that I authored is the Generation Y study, coming up with the idea of marketing life insurance online as well as to youth. I sold that to Prudential when I was 22 years old, and I was in Forbes magazine the first time for that. So helping to pioneer fintech has been in my blood for a while, and that's deeply tied with me being at the intersection of being a millennial who understands the future generation as well as the past generations of traditional banking. So our app sort of solves that equation by, for the first time, combining mobile banking, credit reporting, and online payments in one app that makes it an easy one-stop shop that is simple for youth to be able to understand how to be able to forecast their financial future and act accordingly in the present time.
Okay, and Angel, tell them about the greatest presidential award you just got. Accolades to you. Share with that.
Well, yes, I'm very proud. Hi, Dr. Lance. Thanks for having me. I'm very proud to have recently become the youngest Black person to receive a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm really honored for it. I thought it was a joke at first when everyone kept talking about my age, but no. Apparently, it's not normal to be this young to receive it. So I'm deeply honored that my work behind and in front of the scenes has been recognized by the President and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. Dr. Lance, why don't you hop on and take it from here? I'd love for you to give an introduction to everyone, and then why don't you start the panel?
Great. Well, again, welcome everyone. This is our second panel. We started in January for the African and African American FinTech solution. We believe that there are same problems and same solutions in looking at how we build urban America as well as third world countries. So we've convened experts in the FinTech arena to talk today about problems and solutions that we can do, because we believe that the access to technology as well as FinTech can really help cultivate our objective. My name is Dr. Lance McCarthy, an economist. I've been doing economic research since the mid-90s. I was also on President Clinton and President Obama's Economic Conversion Task Force. So my career has focused on rebuilding urban America through finance, through technology, and through international markets. Very fortunate to work with my panel today on the Ferguson Initiative. We took that around to 10 cities around the country, and also have worked with other national initiatives to include the George Floyd Foundation, the Urban League, and other nonprofit social organizations, but adding economic impact to it. So today we want to talk about the problems in urban America and in third world countries, Africa, but what are some of the solutions that we can do to move this agenda forward? So both of you have given an overview of your background, but let's talk specifically, what do you think the problems are in access to technology, and then how can FinTech help both Africa and African Americans?
Well, I'll go ahead and keep going and then toss it to Divine. From our perspective, more than half of Africa is under the age of 30. So this presents a unique opportunity where at the same time, they are also getting abreast with credit and debt for the first time. So there are sort of two emerging markets happening where you have this sort of youth buying power, and at the same time, you have this access to credit and capital that is opening up that's never been seen or dealt with before. So understanding how to be able to manage that is quite appropriate at this time. We think that our app that is able to combine the mobile banking, the credit reporting, and the online payments in one system will be suitable for their needs and helping them to understand all of the different banking features that can be applicable to them to understanding their financial future. How we are able to connect with these African banks while operating off of an American credit system and helping them to be liaisons into America is another forefront that we have to venture into as well. At the same time, we have to look at it from the other perspective that they might not even want the different credit features that we have, and what different things are they currently operating off of, like different barter systems, different systems that they do with crops and foods, all type of different ways that they might have, where we need to understand how to be able to build fintech tools around them. So I think it needs to be a two-way street where we're helping to be a liaison into our traditional sort of way of banking and finance and fintech, and also understanding how to be flexible and innovative and coming up with ideas that help them where they are.
Great, thanks. What about you, Divine?
Yeah, she gave some great stats on Africa. And to add on into some of those things she was speaking to, you know, we asked the question, how can we use fintech to empower Africans and African Americans? I mean, fintech can play a significant role in empowering Africans and African Americans, I think, by addressing the unique financial challenges they face and providing tailored solutions. And I think here's some ways that fintech can make a difference. One, financial inclusion, right? Fintech can offer banking and financial services to those who are traditionally underserved or excluded from the traditional banking system, by providing mobile-first banking solutions and easier access to credit. Fintech can help individuals and small businesses build financial stability. Another way is education and financial literacy. You know, we're very, very, very heavy on that with Solvent. So, you know, fintech platforms can incorporate educational resources and tools to improve financial literacy among Africans and African Americans. And this will empower them to make informed decisions, manage their money effectively, and build wealth. Another way is investment in wealth building. Again, Solvent is really, really heavy on financial empowerment and wealth building. So as a fintech, we can democratize investment opportunities by offering fractional investing, automated wealth management, and access to asset classes that were previously restricted. And this can help bridge the wealth gap and create more avenues for financial growth. And lastly, I would say remittances. So for many African communities, remittances play a crucial role in supporting families back home in the motherland on the African continent. And then we see fintech can offer faster, cheaper, and more transparent cross-border payment solutions, you know, and reducing the cost and enhancing the efficiency of remittances.
Great. So again, I want to congratulate both of you all on really starting your own banks. Can you go into and define to our audience what a neobank is, what's the opportunities, how we are moving from an analog system to a digital, and how that can really help both African Americans in reference to owning our own bank?
Sure, Dr. Lance. So basically, it's quite simple. A neobank basically means new in layman's terms, and it's simply a bank that does not have a brick and mortar location. It is primarily based off of technology and innovation. It is akin to an Ally Bank or a Chime Bank, and it helps to facilitate banking transactions at a faster pace based off of the technology that is available to the consumer.
What about you, Divine? How have you started your own just neobank, and how you define that?
Yeah, she pretty much gave a great overview of what a neobank is. And neobanks don't operate on their own charter. They actually get a charter from a third party bank, and mostly it's done through a BaaS platform. So a banking as a service platform partner, which is how Solvent operates. We sit on top of that with our technology, and and we work with the bank through that platform. I mean, the empowerment, when we look at financial empowerment, one thing that's necessary in any financial sector that brings about stability in any community is the bank, right? The bank is where you need to go to make that cash flow. When we look at the African American communities, we know that the dollar doesn't stay long within our community; it goes right out. So owning our own institutions and really being able to not only deposit our money into a Black-owned bank, but also allow that money to flow throughout to the community to create businesses and empower individuals that need assistance, financially. So Solvent is really spearheading a movement, if you would, to really empower system impacted individuals. And that doesn't only mean incarceration. It deals with people who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, and also extends out to their family, friends, and loved ones. Me personally, I'm a system impacted individual. I spent 10 years incarcerated, so I have that firsthand, demographic and audience origin and experience. And when I think about my own family, friends and loved ones, especially my son, who suffered not having a father, to help him grow up because I was incarcerated, he's system impacted. So we're really focusing on how we can really extend financial empowerment to those that are directly and indirectly affected.
Great. So since we're talking about the whole digital platform, can you all each talk about cryptocurrency and how that can be beneficial or not beneficial to both African and African Americans?
I'm gonna go ahead and pass this to Divine, because as you all know, I've been against crypto, and I believe I have been very correct. And yeah, I'm gonna let y'all have that one.
Yeah. I'm not a crypto expert myself. How I see crypto, just having a decentralized monetary system in place outside of the Federal Reserve. When we talk about the United States, it allows autonomy for people to make transactions without really revealing who they are in a large degree. I'm not a cryptocurrency investor. I'm not an expert on it, but I know that a lot of people that I know who have been able to leverage the technology and build financial stability through it. I don't know the future where cryptocurrency is going. There's a lot of regulation, a lot of talk about regulations. Actually, a bill just passed. A bill just passed regarding cryptocurrency and the regulation of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and potentially become an investor in the future.
Great. We both know that you all have been down the road of equity capital and the problems of finding equity capital for minority businesses. Can you address how we really can increase the amount of equity capital, because we have so many Black and brown companies out here that just don't have access? How can we really address that issue to the capital markets and really create more equity to help both companies in Africa and African Americans?
Yeah, more and more, I believe that ignorance is real, and that's on both sides. That's on the Black and white side. I think it's honestly, ignorance can be colorblind. And I think that Black people need to have more faith in each other. And I think we need to educate other communities how to have more faith in us. So I think more and more, I can't even necessarily just say that, oh, this is a white thing, because you could present the exact same company to a Black VC and they're actually going to be even harsher to you. And I forgot who said this exactly, but something about our ice can be even colder towards each other, some type of saying like that. And at the very least, we can open our doors to each other. It's like, hey, if you know this person, if you're friends with this person, vouch for them. This whole, we're too scared to put our name on the line because we don't want to lose our position in the house. I am so sick of it. And that is what continues to leave us on the outside. Next thing you know, you outside the house running around trying to knock on people's doors, and now they closing their doors to you. And I think that is what has continued to keep us back, because at this point, before the argument was that we didn't have Black VCs. We have Black VCs now. We have Black people with money now. There are plenty of Black people with money now to be able to fund these companies. There are plenty of companies that have been verified. So at this point, we have to not treat each other like Willie Lynch would like us to.
Real talk. I agree. Thank you. Divine, what do you think about the topic of how we can raise equity capital, get more people involved in Black businesses on equity, both African and African American?
I go right back to awareness. Awareness is the first and foremost, and that speaks to what Angel was just saying about ignorance. It's ignorance is in the base root of that is just ignorance. If you want to rephrase it, it's ignorance. And without awareness, you're going to have that type of ignorance, and that high level ignorance, especially when we think about the continent of Africa and African countries and African Americans here in the United States. I also think that we do have many more fund managers and VCs who are African American in place. But I go back to there's always a power dynamic in the sense of gatekeepers who actually are charged with investing this capital. Then you have the race dynamic is always another one. The culture dynamic. Did you go to Harvard, Yale, or any other high level school? The other thing is, again, we think about how traditionally African Americans haven't had access to capital, haven't been let into the venture capital ecosystem, whereas after the George Floyd killing, a lot more change, where you had companies bringing in, trying to push capital into the Black communities and more accountability there. And there was all these promises made about extending capital and making sure that Black companies were properly funded. I mean, because that's really a lot of it where it boils down to. African Americans have always been innovative, have always been entrepreneurial, and I think that the lack of capital has really kept us back. I mean, we think about all the inventions that we had our hands in throughout slavery and after. It's astronomical, and a lot of those inventions and patents aren't accredited to us, right? So now you have the modern day form of slavery in the sense that we're undercapitalized, we're overlooked, we're underserved, we're discredited. But I think us as a community need to stick together and really push the agenda of the awareness to get the access, to get the opportunity.
Great. So depending on what study you read, sometimes 7, sometimes 11, in reference to Black companies on the New York Stock Exchange or publicly traded companies. How do we increase that number, both for African and African Americans, to get more publicly traded companies to be able to build Black wealth in both Africa and the African American nations? How do we do that? Because we want to increase that number because it's always been so low.
Yeah, I just think we really need to look at the entrepreneurial journey of African Americans. Again, it goes back to the awareness, right? To get more African Americans aware of the power of high growth startups, beyond the capacity of what a small business can do for the community, but really see how high growth startups are built, how they scale. And again, that goes back to, you know, capitalization, the proper capital being infused into these companies that are we're founders of, that have the potential to be billion-dollar companies, unicorns, and get to a point where they have you know, those exits at that level, not just being acquired, but like you just said, becoming publicly traded. And again, I just think it's that funnel of that entrepreneurship journey, the knowledge, the support, the capital infusion, and so forth and so on, everything that it takes to really build a high growth startup, because it's not easy. Me and Angel began this journey a long time ago, and we're still here. We're still striving. We're still building. And I can speak for her in the sense, and like I would speak for myself, that we really believe in our communities. We really believe in who we are as African Americans, descendants of Africa, our ancestors, what they went through and what they've done. So we're just really in modern times, really just keeping pushing and pushing forward to really see the success of our own companies to one day reach that billion dollar status and become publicly traded.
Yeah, I completely agree, Divine. I think having that sort of circle of trust, almost to be able to come together and say, here are the steps, these are the things that you need to do. I personally did not change my mindset until I went to go see one of my mentors who's worth about $60 billion. And he told me it takes the same amount of time to make $1 million as it does 100 million, as it does to make $1 billion. And at the time I was facing an acquisition offer for $350 million, and I decided to turn it down. And when I had to give advice recently for this article that I just did, they asked me, what advice would I give to new founders and fintech founders that are just now starting? And I said, my advice is to kick the ladder down, find the biggest building, figure out who the doorman is, and then get on the elevator, and then figure out who's in the penthouse. That's how you actually do this.
Yeah.
Taking it step by step, climbing all of the ladders. No, that is absolute nonsense. You will spend a lifetime trying to climb that ladder. So I think that it is important for you to figure out which building you want to take over. And that's another thing. You got to make sure it's a big building, and make sure when you put your flag on top of it that you really have achieved that level. And I think so many times we're taught to, especially when you're smart, you're taught to just put your head down and just keep it going, and you know things will work out for you. But that's really not the case. And I call it guts and grit. You really have to have the guts and the grit to be able to take hold of yourself. So I think more than anything, it's not even about what people do to yourself. How much are you going to down the door and not take no for an answer? When Steve Case was starting AOL, he wanted Steve Jobs to be an investor in his company. So after Steve Jobs kept turning down his letters, Steve Case decided that he was going to go stake out outside of Apple. So he moved all the way to LA and started sleeping in front of Apple, waiting for him to come outside. Slowly, he would say, hey, I'm looking for Steve Jobs. I'm looking for Steve Jobs. Next thing you know, people told Steve Jobs, there's a crazy man that's been sleeping outside for months that's been waiting for you. It took him a year. Steve Case stayed outside of Apple for a year, every single day, until he finally got his meeting with Steve Jobs. And that's the amount of relentlessness you have to have in pursuit of your dreams and in pursuit of building $1 billion company.
Absolute.
I totally agree. And both of you are that tenacious. I've seen it, and we have to got to take it by the bull by the horns. Any advice of organizations, resources, networks that founders can do in the fintech arena, both in Africa and African Americans, we want to be able to share with our audience because you all have done extensive research. Any organizations, any trade groups, anything of that nature that we can share with the audience about connecting so they can push their agendas forward.
Yeah, for us, Visa has been an amazing partner. I always want to take the time to promote Visa. I've had an unprecedented relationship with them, not just as a Black company, not just as a female, but as a tech company, period. I think what they are doing one day will be studied in all of the great schools across the world. And I can't wait to see other partnerships that fold out, like the one that I have with Visa. At the same time, I do think that there are other burgeoning initiatives that are going on. Like you got your Goldman Sachs. I think it's called 1 Million Black Women, I believe it's called, and they also have the 10,000 Small Businesses program. Village Capital is usually a pretty good program to participate in. That's actually where Devon and I met at, and I believe that they have kept that going over the last few years. Alice, Hello Alice is really good and almost secret for Black women. But if you are looking to get into your Series A, once you are at your Series A level and you are a Black woman, then you want to tap into Hello Alice. And whoever just caught that gem, that was a real gem I just dropped. So looking into organizations like that, you want to start setting your sight onto where Series A organizations are, even before you're ready for them, so that they can start keeping an eye on you ahead of time. So by the time you're ready to ask them for money, they've already been watching you for a year or two.
Great advice. Thank you. What about you, Divine?
Yeah, just to add on to what she's saying, absolutely. When it comes to building a high growth startup, again, it's not an easy task, especially not to build $1 billion evaluated one that could potentially have a an exit where it's becomes publicly traded. I like to lean on Y Combinator. It's one of the most prestigious accelerators in the world. And it's like they call it the Harvard of accelerators. They have a lot of resources on their website, a lot of information to kind of guide you and direct you. And they're pros of the game, so they've seen it all, done it all. I can't recall how many $1 billion companies, unicorns, they produced, but many of them have come through Y Combinator. So that's ycombinator.com. Check them out. Also, Angel mentioned Visa, great resources for individuals specifically around fintech. Same thing with MasterCard, equally. What else? And just researching accelerators, researching what other companies, organizations that are out there that really deal with fintech. Another one is the Financial Health Network is another one to look into. But yeah, that's my advice. Really do your research and get really A-class knowledge around how to build a high growth startup, especially financial technology.
I know both of you lecture all around the country. Any organizations that you want to share? I know you all have spoken so many different conferences in reference to Blacks in Tech, but any other organization you want to share with the audience of where you've spoken or where you will be speaking in reference to other platforms on Blacks in Tech?
Well, you know, I never turn down a promo, Dr. Lance. Well, I'm gonna start with Black Tech Matters. We've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes real quietly. We focus on employment, education, and entrepreneurship, and supporting political candidates that see that as a priority on their agenda. So we're really excited about that, and we are really proud of the efforts that Wes Moore has made across the state of Maryland, and look forward to seeing other initiatives that he might produce in terms of emerging technology. And then upcoming this weekend, I'll be speaking virtually at Martha's Vineyard, and it's called Wealth Weekend in partnership with Hampton University and wealthy individuals. So I'm excited about that weekend that's coming up. What they're building is an organization called the Couture Domain. So I'm excited about that. And then I'll just give a shout out to a friend, DJ Waffles. He's been really growing. He has a good business, is a DJ and waffles at the same time, and doing a lot of events. So if you're looking for waffles and DJ at the same time, I want you to check out DJ Waffles because it's a nice vibe, and I really like how he's been growing his business.
Thanks. About Divine, what platforms, conferences are coming up that you have spoke on you want to share with the audience?
Oh yeah, I'm elated to announce that I'll be speaking at Fintech DevCon, which is a company, fintech company called Move. It's their event that they hold every year. They're actually in Andreessen Horowitz portfolio company. But I'll be speaking there, and it'll be down in Austin, Texas, August 23rd to August 26th. If you can make it down and you're in fintech or interested in getting in fintech, Fintech DevCon is where it's going to happen. It's going down. I'll be speaking about how we can utilize payments, or how can we actually innovate on payments to really empower communities that are underserved. So I'm looking forward to that.
So Divine, yeah, tell how we can incorporate edutainment with music, with rap, etc., especially since we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and we know that music touches the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm somebody who's passionate about music, hip hop, and rap culture in particular. I'm actually a former professional hip hop rap recording artist, as well as an executive. It's my first love. When we think about music, there's been a lot of companies just really leveraging technology to change the landscape of how music is consumed, right? It's no longer the CD. It's more so these streaming platforms such as a Tidal, such as a Shopify, and even such as a United Masters. How music is distributed and consumed by this generation. But then you have technology making it more cost effective and efficient to really deliver this music out to mass audiences. I think you're going to see innovative ways that fintech comes into play with how you engage with music. I mean, when we think about Apple with the App Store, with iTunes and Apple Music, and the way that's connecting and bringing in their own payment system and all that. So yeah, looking forward to seeing where that develops at. But very, very excited where the future's headed around music and culture and fintech and technology.
Great. Well, thank you both. Any last comments on how we can continue this growth and fight for fintech in Africa and African Americans?
Yeah, I would just say just more unity, just more unity between the African and the African American community, with us not competing with each other. There's a lot of misconceptions on both sides. And I think both sides have to give each other a fair shake and really come together as family and brothers and sisters. If that can happen, we could take over the world. And so that's what they don't want to happen. That's why they want to keep us confused with each other. But the moment we see eye to eye, see you are my brother, I am your sister, the moment we can really come together. Oh, and stay tuned for Credit Rich, January 2024 on Google Play and iOS.
Thank you. So proud of you, Angel. Divine.
Yeah, definitely agree, man. It's power and unity, and to really bring together Africans and African Americans and realize that we're really just one would change things radically, and it would just accelerate the empowerment of all of us. So looking forward to that day. I'm going to play my part as I do with Solvent, and you stay tuned for what's going on with us. We can be found at www.justsolvent.com.
Well, thank you both. This concludes our panel at Digital Davos. Again, we are always looking at ways we can help improve the planet. This panel on African Americans and Africans in fintech is a way to continue to move the agenda forward. So we bless you and hope that you all continue the great work. Anad, you want to close remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I think, we're a very informative panel. I think, as usual, What I take away from this in general is to say that there is a lot of work that's been done from where things were to where things are, but there needs to be a lot more work done. As the last part of it, the music side of it, I think music has been such an instrumental part of integration of not integration of one into the other, but of integration of all sides together. And I think music will continue to lead that, and fintech will be the music of the future. It will unite us. It will make
Awesome.
us everybody relevant. It will make everybody equal, because the opportunities that can be provided using fintech are so vast, and it is a true accelerator for communities, and especially communities that need assistance. Divine, absolutely amazed with your project, especially the focused on previously incarcerated folks. Angel, your meteoric success. May God bless you, and may it continue in that direction. And I think that with a combination of youth and of experience, you will find no end of to your success. And I think that you are certainly, both of you are markers of how impact can be made investable, and how impact can be made profitable, and how impact can actually be something that we don't have to think of as an outlier, but as just a normal thing that we do every day. And that's the key thing that I take away from this panel. Dr. Lance, obviously, the people that you bring together, the people that you work with, all of us together, we are all looking for the same outcomes. The outcomes are that we have to uplift from within, not from outside. One cannot wait for help from somebody, and when we don't know who that somebody is, and that somebody changes all the time. So at the end of the day, I think that these initiatives, and your mentorship, your guidance, your experience, is certainly a key component. And I think that the more we can work together, the more we can work as one, the more progress we're going to see. So thank you very much, everybody. And Dr. Lance, I'll turn it back to you.
All righty. Again, we made more inroads today, and we'll continue to do this. We'll let you know the next time we'll be having this platform. It's major discussion, but we are very grateful to both of you who have brought such great experience and great insight. But we'll continue to move this agenda forward so that we can bring wealth both in Africa and with African Americans to make a difference in the world. God bless you all.
Thank you.